No, he's center forward. He can play there. Yeah, that's true that lately playing more in the wide because he felt comfortable being the body shape more open. But he's a young player, and we encourage him even playing central positions. He has to be more open, wide, and his body to see the actions clear. But he can play in the three positions up front. And when we need players that runners, and we need players like help a lot in our high intensity, in the high pressing. He's the best in the world, and thanks to him we can stay high. Thanks to him we can be so aggressive and feel again. Both when we play in that position, help us to get a extra rhythm for our midfield players, and our back four can stay higher, can stay high for a long time. So yeah, he's a young player. He was decisive in these years being with Gabriel. Gabriel helped us a lot in many things. And yeah, now he will be father, so it's a perfect.
Yeah, we will do it soon. We will do it soon.
Why do you have that confidence?
Because I see him every day, and I love him so much. What he's able to do it. One of the reasons why we concede few goals and few chances is thanks exclusively to him. Without him, we would concede more chances. So. And sometimes I give credit on the other ones. Of course, he want to score goals, and he will do it.
Well, when you look at the last 6 months of Gavi, or 7 months, and after the long-term injury that he had and the amount of football that he missed, then he came back in pre-season, he started to get the rhythm again, then he had another injury, another surgery. So we have to build him up. He's a tremendous player, a really important player for us. He changed our world last season. You could all see that, and he's going to be a really important player for us.
In what way did he change the world?
I must admit, when we discussed the Brazilian Gabriel Jesus internally within our Arsenal fan base, I'm actually quite shocked. Now, everybody's allowed an opinion. No one's right and wrong. But as I said, I'm actually quite shocked at the language to describe Gabriel Jesus. I've heard comments on social media and actually with Arsenal supporting friends about selling him. I'm sorry, but at 27 years of age, we need to keep this man. Whether he's a squad player or a regular, he has won 4 Premier League titles and been at Manchester City. There's a lot of transferable experience. As Mikel Arteta said, this individual has transformed us, people. And I do think football fans have a short-term memory. As you can see on screen, shout out to Football Made Simple. Perfect graphic of how Gabriel Jesus typifies what Mikel Arteta demands of a striker. And it's not just him. We've seen Trossard do it, Kai Havertz do it to a degree, Nketiah, not to these lots level. And we hope the next striker arrives. I do think people downplay and have forgotten about how good Gabriel Jesus is. He's a soldier. He puts his body on the line. He's versatile. He has a wealth of transferable experience being a young player and growing up at Palmeiras and Manchester City that he can obviously palm off to some of his teammates. I think we need to keep this man, if I'm honest. Again, I understand the frustrations around his fitness. I'm frustrated too. I do think he's suffering mentally in that regards. I do think he's lost a spring of pace in that regards. A lot of this is probably in relation to him, simply put, needing to get fit and stay fit. And there's been persistent knee injuries, but he's a soldier. He's a mentality monster. He's a big game player, as he has shown at Manchester City and actually for Arsenal Football Club. You look at him against Liverpool, where he scored last season. You look at him in the defeat to Manchester United. You look at him against Chelsea. You look at how he's performed and undertook the demands Mikel Arteta has demanded of him in terms of how the team wanted to play in 2 games against Manchester City. He saved his best for the Champions League. That's actually where he's the most prolific, because he has, in 44 appearances, 24 goals, and we're in the latter stages of that competition. Is he perfect? No. Is there fitness issues? Of course, people. We're getting exactly what I expected in terms of what we signed Gabriel Jesus for. We'll kind of circle back on that during this video. He's a 4-time Premier League winner, people. Again, within the next 18 months to 2 to 3 years, of course, we could have this debate. But on the journey Arsenal are undertaking at the moment, for me, it makes no sense to even entertain rumors of selling him. Whether he's playing out wide or on the flanks, this is a man that needs to be at the carpet, people. Again, he's never been a regular first-time name on the team sheet at Manchester City. But in the running, he stood up to be counted. You'll remember the 4 goals against Watford, his performances against Liverpool, Liverpool and Chelsea. Obviously, they didn't win the Champions League with Gabriel Jesus there, but do you remember him against Real Madrid where they won 2-1? And I'm sure there was another game he actually performed well at left back there. You know, injuries, knee injuries, just by doing my research, these seem to be a consistent theme of Gabriel Jesus, on top of obviously lack of goals. There was a point at Manchester City where he had a 14 goal drought. Now, I'm not saying he should be a first name on the team sheet. The team should be built around him, but there's no way you can denounce that this guy has a lot of qualities to give this football club. And talking about selling Gabriel Jesus is testament to what Arteta is doing. But have we really improved that much that we can entertain selling him? I still don't think Gabriel Jesus knows his best position. You could argue he is a victim of his very own versatility. As you're going to see on screen, there's a lot of information that kind of speaks about what we're on about. But in terms of the modern day striker within Mikel Arteta's system, if goals were the only thing that was required, we know we need to score goals, but if goals were the only thing that was required, Trossard, Kai Havertz, Eddie Nketiah and Gabriel Jesus would have never led the line for Arsenal Football Club. You know, and again, you've probably seen some comments on screen from his days at Manchester City, so you can kind of see he's someone that's had to grow up fast, really, and he's a vital squad player. When we brought him, obviously the premise was to do everything Gabriel Jesus was doing at Manchester City, with the opportunity to get more regular football and showcase your talents. And he transformed our system. The only issue, he doesn't score enough goals, and that's what it comes down to. If he could score goals, we probably are not talking about signing another striker. If I'm honest with you, he's a great striker to start games and be the first choice. Obviously, he can be utilized as a rotational option, as we've seen twice now against Manchester City. He can play out wide and perform well out there. He knows what Mikel Arteta demands of the system. He knows what we're trying to do psychologically, and we got what we paid for. It would have been lovely if he could score goals, the same way it'd be lovely if Zinchenko could defend. But when you look at his statistics, apart from his exports for Brazil and actually in the Champions League, he's been anything but a prolific target man or front man. Of course, he's played a lot of games out wide for Manchester City, but he's yet to hit 100 goals for any football club, really and truly, and he only has 19 to date. He does have a great record, as we know, when it comes to obviously scoring. Not that he scores many, but in the 202 Premier League games that he has played in at the time of making this vid, the games unbeaten when he scored are 60. For Arsenal, that is broken down to 13, and obviously he would have done that on a more frequent basis at Manchester City, in which it was 47 times. Are we even forgetting Manchester United this season, where I know we was winning 2-1, but he put the icing on top of the cake? There's no way you can make a case for this guy not being part of the squad, people. And again, I think we've got exactly what we was getting from Gabriel Jesus, a consistent player, a versatile player, someone that operates very well, dropping deep, working the channels, link-up play, being a defensive forward in the modern day. That is everything he displayed at Manchester City. Of course, the extra caveat was, could he score 20, 30 league goals with regular football? Injuries have played a part, but I don't think Gabriel Jesus is a natural finisher. He makes the easy look difficult, and he makes the difficult look easy. He's an enigma. If you go back to his time where he just joined Manchester City, he actually said he would compete for a place on the flanks, and he prefers to play as a left winger. Now, you can change your mind in life, because obviously the rhetoric has changed for Gabriel Jesus since he joined Arsenal, but I think he's just not a natural finisher. I honestly believe strikers, Haaland would be the best example. Strikers, goal-scoring strikers, better yet, sounds crazy to say. I think they're born. I think you can improve in front of goal, but I don't think that's ever going to be a strong point of Jesus, if I'm completely honest with you. You can also see that, you know, in times that have obviously changed since the previous graphic, he said the idea for him at Arsenal was to play as a number 9 on a loose sort of occasion, and he said he's blessed by God to be given versatility. He did make it clear he wants to be the number 9, and he'll get plenty of options, but at the end of the day, he does not score goals. Now, at this time of making this vid, we all know Gabriel Jesus has been injured. He's picked up a couple of injuries that stopped his consistency and his fluidity and the uptake in performance and looking sharp. Obviously, on paper, not just Gabriel Jesus, but Gabriel Jesus, Thomas Partey, Tomiyasu, Zinchenko, they're probably not in Arteta's strongest 11 at the moment, owing to Arsenal's form. But the squad is required. Arteta's made a big song and dance about we need our squad at this point in the season, and it's required at this moment in time. Mentality is everything. I like how Gabriel Jesus takes everything in his stride, and I actually think his position on a more regular basis should be probably out wide. Who knows? If Arsenal sign an out-and-out striker, folks, maybe Gabriel Jesus will have to meet the same fate of sorts he had at Manchester City, in which he was primarily a winger. I think he's a gift and a curse. You're a manager's gift because you can play a lot of roles. But it's a curse because if you want to play as a number 9 on a frequent basis, you've got to score the goals, and he's shown an inability to do that. It is a double-edged sword, as we know, being a striker, because you can score goals but not necessarily affect the game over 90 minutes. And when your teammates don't bring you in, like you saw with Haaland against our centre-halves, you're a bit redundant in that regards. Or you can be like Gabriel Jesus, where you can do all the other stuff, but clinical goals, I'm not sure. Arsene Wenger has talked up Gabriel Jesus. I personally don't think he'll ever be a strong goal scorer. That doesn't mean he won't score goals. But Arsene Wenger, and who better to give advice than Arsene Wenger, has basically said he needs to be more consistent, and the consistency is what's going to separate him from the rest. And what I like is that there's competition for places. I've said this a number of times on my video. I think we have to learn from Manchester City in Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus' case, in that their quality players can make the difference, but fundamentally they're squad players. And again, if them lot are squad players to go with a few others, Partey and Tomiyasu for this example, naturally a byproduct is the squad is better. As you can see on screen, he's never displayed that he'd be a great finisher of sorts. So it would have been lovely if he could score goals at Arsenal, but it's probably a fantasy. Now, football fans, Arsenal fans, for what it's worth, I'm not saying you should not have concerns about Gabriel Jesus. Nobody's right, nobody's wrong. Football is an objective game, and that's why we love it. But if you go through the season, and this is why you need a squad, how many players are going to make the difference for 38 games, people? This is why you need a squad. And when you go through the season, Thomas Partey has been written off, Saka's been written off, and people said he had a slow start. Martinelli, there's been question marks. People until recently asked questions of Martin Odegaard. There's historically been issues around Benjamin White. Obviously, he's showing his consistency. David Raya, I think everybody likes him. Kai Havertz, obviously, there was question marks. Trossard, there was question marks. Mikel Arteta, the manager, historically, there's been question marks. So this is why we need a squad. And for me, if you've got Gabriel Jesus and all of these players as squad players, then naturally a byproduct of that is we've got a stronger playing squad, especially if you bring in a striker, a winger, a central midfielder or two, and any other area that Mikel Arteta would like to address, and what us fans would like as well. I miss Gabriel Jesus of 2022. He looked sharp, he looked confident, he looked like there was a point to prove. He does look like he's lost a spring of pace, and he looks a bit lethargic and doesn't look sharp. That is probably owing to his lack of fitness, because he's picked up injuries. And I would describe Gabriel Jesus historically as a durable player, or having durability. Unfortunately, that has not been the case with Gabriel Jesus at Arsenal since the injury around the World Cup. But for me, he's been a great player, you know, again, and he's a title winner. He's been in that scenario. And where you look at a couple of our players, you know, you've got people like Odegaard who have been young players, Gabriel Jesus as well, actually, who have been young players, had to deal with a lot of speculation and stuff over them. That's a wealth of experience Odegaard can give to the Ethans and the Haylenders and even the Bakayo Saka, etc. And where you look at experienced players keeping cool heads as we go on a title run or get to latter stages of the competitions, Gabriel Jesus has 4 Premier League titles. Zinchenko has won stuff as well. Jorginho has won stuff. Declan Rice has coped with the pressure of being West Ham captain and has won a Conference League. And there's other transferable skills with a lot. There's a wealth of experience. Now, if we were Manchester City, treble winners, 100 points, done all the things they've done, or even 30% of what they've done, then I think we could entertain selling Gabriel Jesus. And for what it's worth, disclaimer, everybody has a price. You know, I'm not saying to keep him religiously, but we've barely scratched the surface of where this team can go. And I think Gabriel Jesus can help us in the intermediate, and not just him, a number of players really, you know. And even if you were to sell Gabriel Jesus, he's contracted until 2027. You're not going to make your 45 million quid back. So I don't understand writing him off. I am not saying he's the Messiah. He's the difference maker. We shouldn't have question marks. I just find the rhetoric amusing and baffling of someone that is versatile, that, you know, that is a fighter, that is a big game player, and that's someone that in crucial moments, whether he scores or not, and this goes for a lot of players, you know, we need these guys to stand up to be counted. Of course, the bulk of this squad are young and inexperienced in the new terrains and climates we're getting into, latter stages of Champions Leagues, fighting for Prems, and they're learning on the job. And I think they've learned a lot from how it ended last year. But I can't understand it really and truly. You know, we tried to perform a master stroke in that I think Gabriel Jesus is signing. We've got everything that he was doing at City and more, but in a sense of being a goal scorer with a platform to play as a number 9. And for whatever reason, that hasn't happened. I don't know if it's mentally. I don't know if he's just not a natural scorer. I'm not too sure. Of course, there's been games where you would have loved Gabriel Jesus to score goals and could have made the difference, but he fully understands what Mikel Arteta is trying to do for this club in terms of trajectory. He fully understands keeping a cool head in certain moments, and he fully understands what Mikel Arteta wants at this football club on and off the football field, and that goes to a lot of players. People, I think he could be a vital squad player, lack of goals or not. And ironically, I think if we sign another striker, Gabriel Jesus will score a lot more goals. I personally would have him as a rotational striker. You can play right wing and left wing, and respectfully to everybody that's about, Gabriel Jesus as a wide option is probably better option than Reece Nelson or something like that, respectfully. So I think he could do it. The knee injuries are a concern. The frequent injuries are a concern as well, people. But the man's a great player, as my notes say here. Chelsea last season, Spurs last season, United this and last season. Whether he scored or not, go and watch these games again. Liverpool last season as well. He had 2 great defensive performances in line with a great team performance where it was just about mucking in and both teams are cancel each other out in Manchester City. Early days in the Champions League before his injuries, he's one of our stars. We're in the latter stages of this competition and we need these players, if I'm honest. So I wouldn't write off anyone. And I don't understand why some Arsenal fans are writing off Gabriel Jesus. That's just me personally, people. But that's all I've got to say. Let me know your thoughts on Gabriel Jesus. Comment, like, share, subscribe. Peace.